of worship could come as soon as today from the CDC. But the New York Archdiocese, the second largest in the country, is not waiting. They have come up with their own plan. And joining us to discuss is His Eminence, Timothy Cardinal Dolan, the Archbishop of New York. Good morning, Cardinal.
Hi, Allison. It's good to be with you again. What somber news from Pakistan, though. My, oh my, God help them.
I know, 100 people on board, and it also looks like people on the ground may have been terribly injured. So obviously we'll keep our viewers up to date about that. In the meantime, I know that you've come up with a plan for what going to church is going to look like. And so just tell us, I mean, starting with Sunday Mass, how will the experience be different now?
Sure, Allison. Thanks for asking. It's been a tough 10 weeks for everybody. And even spiritually, our people have been without public Mass and the sacraments. And boy, they just keep saying to us, please let us know when we come back. We miss Mass. We miss the community. We miss God's word. We miss the sacraments. We have been enthusiastically cooperative with our healthcare professionals and our elected officials, and we want to continue to do so. That's one of the reasons, Allison, you'll note that we didn't put any dates for reentry. We just said, here's our layered return to normalcy, and we're going to have to wait and see for the metrics that come out telling us when that can happen. What you asked specifically, Allison, about Sunday Mass, which of course is the high point of life for a sincere Catholic, that's probably not going to come till later because we still want to be very conscious of the crowds. We want to make sure we've got the safe distancing and the sanitation. So Sunday Mass is probably going to be later. But what we can begin to do under the careful guidelines that have been put out, we can at least physically open our churches for prayer. We can begin with the sacrament of penance, confession. Again, at safe distances. We can begin the sacrament of the anointing of the sick. We can slowly begin baptisms of our babies, even small weddings and funerals, as long as the families say, we know we're limited to 10 people. At least that's the number that we get here in New York. And then, Allison, the last two steps would be daily Mass and Sunday Mass. But again, I don't know the calendar for that. We just thought this, Allison. We know it's going to come. Please, God, the sooner the better. We want to be ready. I use the example. I said, we want to be like the batter in the batter's circle, waiting to jump into the batter's box as soon as we hear play ball. And that's what yesterday was about.
Well, that's really helpful to know. It's really interesting because I was wondering about masses because the governor has given that statewide directive of no more than 10 people for religious gatherings, and I just didn't understand how you were going to be able to hold Mass with that. So I hear what you're saying, baby steps. You're not planning to hold Mass yet.
No, and I'm glad you asked, Allison, because that's a good clarification. The governor also mentioned one of the things that we're thinking of, outdoor Masses. The healthcare professionals tell us that outdoors are better. Obviously, the spaces are larger, so we could have the safe distancing, even people remaining in cars. That may be one of those antipasto steps to getting to a full return to Sunday Mass within our parish churches.
Thank you for putting it in food terms that I can understand. I always like a good food analogy, Cardinal. And so, I mean, philosophically speaking, obviously you don't need to go inside a house of worship to worship or pray. And so do you want to see people coming back inside a church right now with all of these questions still?
Not in large numbers, not in unsafe numbers, but you've got a good point, and our people have learned that firsthand. Jesus himself said, look, when you pray, go into your room and pray to your Father in private. So we know there's that private, personal dimension in prayer. We can pray anywhere, but we also know that, especially for Jews and Christians, a community is important. A place is important. There's a sense of family and spiritual solidarity. And that is very important as well. And that's what we want to work to. But boy, your point is well taken. And our people have learned that. The number of people that have said we're praying more often and better. We're turning to God's word and the Bible more often. We're using live streaming and faith formation that the parishes are providing. So they've learned that. But even they are chafing to get back to the embrace of the community that we call the church.
President Trump said yesterday that churches are not being treated with respect by Democratic governors. Has that been your experience?
Well, I can only talk, Allison, about New York, and I compliment the job that Governor Cuomo's done. I've complimented Mayor de Blasio. Yeah, I've complimented President Trump. I think our leaders have not let us down. I think they've worked hard, and they're trying their best. But I wouldn't feel that in New York. I found our governor, our mayor, Senator Schumer, to be very attentive and very sensitive. They've been especially eager to have us in compliance with the guidelines, have been kind enough to say that the religious communities have come through in being very safe and very conscious of health. And they've been very sensitive as well in saying, we want to work hard to get you back. Governor Cuomo on Thursday named a religious advisory panel to kind of help him decide when we can get back, to help us decide when we can begin to get back, just as he's doing with business and sports and recreation and all. So they're not leaving religion out. No, I so far, I don't have any complaints.
Good to know. Well, Cardinal Dolan, always great to see you. Thank you for giving us a status report, and enjoy your holiday weekend.
Let's move from antipasta to pasta, okay?
Next time, I look forward to that and somehow sharing a meal. Thank you very much.
You're on.
So hospitals in Brazil are overwhelmed